Greetings fellows, before this video a short disclaimer. With our guest we will talk about similarities between ancient Roman Empire and Nilfgaardian Empire. We don't mean similarities in visual appearance, but analogy in things like military organization, logistics, technology, mentality and the state organization. So now let's start with the interview. Glor Nilfgaard, Haupte Moritz met seine Rapporten. Welcome to discussion video, and today I have my first ever guest, Frolda. He's a Roman enthusiast. It maybe was a kind of a obsession for many years, right?
Definitely.
Okay, and he's also active Witcher fan, so that's why I invited him. And now we will discuss the comparison and some analogy between ancient Rome and Nilfgaardian Empire. So the basic comparison. First, of course, we must define that both of them are empires.
Definitely.
Maybe, of course, the Rome, not all of its history.
Yes, but truth to be told, we don't know the full expansion of the Nilfgaardian history, so
Exactly.
technically, and it's highly assumed that previously it could be a Nilfgaardian kingdom, which eventually developed into empire.
Yeah, definitely there could be some evolution, as the Rome originally was a
First it was kingdom, then it was republic, and then
the empire.
empire. Yeah.
So the best for last.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, the empire has its definitely own structure, so of course the emperor is on the top. But there, in Nilfgaard and also in ancient Rome, as it was in his empire state, there was a senate. Or in Rome there was, in Nilfgaard there is a senate. And the senate, its power, it's kind of limited, or how can we say that?
Yeah, definitely cornered. In the Republic, the Senate was typically the sort of a head of state, introducing new laws and regulation, let's say. This power then was shifted to the head of the empire, the emperor. And we can see that also in the Nilfgaardian Empire, that at least some of the power that was previously limited only for the Senate was then shifted to the emperor.
Especially under Emir's rule.
Especially,
He's really, really autocratic.
Definitely. Truth to be told, both Nilfgaard and Rome had their governors and some other, let's say, lower head of the states. Yes, lower, but also they had some sort of I don't want to say absolute, but some sort of
local power.
Definitely, local power.
Yeah, so this was a kind of a political structure, but also in Nilfgaard there were some of the judgment structure, the tribunals, and well, they were kind of independent, but of course, especially Emir had definitely some grip on them. So in ancient Rome, was it similar?
Yes, we have clear records about something similar, or about emperor or someone with the absolute power influencing the tribunals. What I can think of is Tiberius and the leader of the Praetorian Guard, Seianus, who was directly influencing the tribunals and also even providing the records and all the proofs. And basically he put them the result and said, do what you want, but these people needs to die or be sentenced. So
or be spared.
Exactly.
So we are almost definitely talking about real similarity. So it can be used as an analogy, the political structure and overall the structure as a state of the Nilfgaardian Empire, as it is kind of a Rome of the Witcher world. So let's now talk a bit about technology level, society and opportunities in personal career. So all in all, the civilization. So the Nilfgaard as a realm, it's often described as civilized in the Witcher world, and those are all the things which this word includes.
Yes, absolutely. If we compare it with the northern kingdoms, which are very strictly feudal, if the Nilfgaard is more open, I can imagine there are lots of people who started from the bottom and then through different career, could be military career, could be better education, could be merchant career also. They acquired lots of wealth or lots of connections, let's say, and eventually step up the ladder, which I could not much imagine in the northern world, which...
Yeah, the northern kingdoms, they are strictly feudal systems, so on in which level of society you were born, it pretty much dictates on which level of society you will end. Of course, there are some exceptions, like from the Witcher games of CD Projekt, the Vernon Roach.
Definitely.
He started as a humble and he worked himself up as a commander of the Blue Stripes, special unit, but he's a rarity. In a Nilfgaard, it's definitely more often that even the citizen or countryman can work his way up to the society, not maybe through the nobility, but it can happen. But especially,
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, but especially military career and as a merchant. So he came to the great wealth even when he came from the pretty much humble ground.
Yes, exactly. And this shift of talent, let's say, helps to consolidate the empire together. It also gives you some sort of a hope that one day you will have a better life than previously. And it also motivates you to work out more. And I think that's one of the greatest positives of the Nilfgaardian Empire, because it's also considered as one of the few things that eventually led to Rome demise. That was the late antiquity, where this sort of opportunities of professionalism wasn't available. So it was that the son eventually inherited the career of his father. It was also not only in craftsmanship or merchant, whatever, it was also in the military.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the dedication to work, as you said, that reminds me of Nilfgaardian manufactures. So not only the mass production on the one hand, but also at the other, the evolution of new technologies, which maybe we can say it gives Nilfgaard upper hand.
Sort of, yeah, definitely. And also we have a very clear analogy for the manufacturers. In the Roman world, those were called fabricae, which in old language it was a synonym for factory.
So again, we have analogies in a society and in a technology, in development. So it can be interesting to go on and move to the other team. Because next I want to talk about a little bit controversial team, because the Nilfgaard is mostly viewed as an aggressor, as an invader. And yeah, it's true, he invades northern kingdoms, definitely. He's the war initiative. But it was pretty same with the Rome.
Yes, absolutely. I would not exactly put here as an example when Rome was invading countries like Gallia, or which was France, or Britain, because those were technologically on much lower level than Rome was. But I think the great analogy here is when the Roman conquest of Macedonia or Greece. Because we consider Greece as a very developed country, or at that time it definitely was a developed country. Yeah, and at that time Rome wasn't exactly that much far from them, but definitely they had superior military, I would say superior leadership, and definitely great motivation. So,
yeah, but with the Greece, yeah, it was an invasion, but more of than like exterminatus. It was more of a absorption of the Greece and the culture and technology to improve their own.
Definitely, and The Roman used the system of client kingdoms,
Yeah.
which were directly influenced by a Roman Senate or Roman Empire. So, and later, as an inheritance or sort of inheritance after the death of the client king, the country became the direct vassal or direct part of the Roman Empire. So we can imagine if, for example, Sintra or maybe Sintra not, but somebody from Kedvan or Lyria or Rivia would became a client kingdom of...
No, let's not name, don't make a conflict.
Sort of, yeah.
But definitely another maybe fun fact that the Rome and also the Nilfgaard is a civilized empire in the south, and they are making their progress on the north, which is not maybe laid back, but I don't know how to pronounce it, because it's not a bad thing. The feudal system, there is nothing bad about it. And some of the northern realms, especially like Temeria, Redania, they are really developed. And then further north you have Kovier, which is Kovier is economical, very developed and is powerful, small, but a really powerful realm, especially on a business side.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not that clear, of course, but there are some similarities. And for Nilfgaard, and maybe it's also from Rome, the invasion or the expansion of their empire, for them it was reasonable. It was like kind of a natural, like, hey, we are not doing anything that bad, we are bringing the opportunities to those realms, because they didn't know them yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we already mentioned that Rome and its expansion was kind of allowed and powered by huge, professional and well-equipped army, and it's pretty similar with the Nilfgaard. So the northern armies, because they are feudal states, they are mostly based around the noblemen and their personal companies, and then maybe the city guards or city regiments, and then the mass recruitment, like you take everyone from city, from countryside who can hold a weapon. You gave him basic training and just send him to war. But with Nilfgaard and also with the Rome, the army is professional. For Rome, it was legions, and for Nilfgaard, it's brigades. So let's compare those two in a few words.
Yeah, definitely. If you take a basic grunt from the Nilfgaardian brigade and compare it with the basic legionnaire and a basic militiaman from the north, you can see the clear difference there. The legionnaire and the member of the brigade are very similar in a few things. They are free men who enlisted for a certain amount of time or for
they are getting paid.
Exactly, they are getting paid. So there is some sort of a career opportunity. They can get promoted or rewarded for exceptional service.
There is a rent for after the retirement. So
yes, and also a rent for the family in case the serviceman dies.
Exactly. So yeah, pretty similar. The brigades are recruited from provinces and also from the state as a whole. So the Nilfgaardian brigades bear names by the provinces like Metina, Nazaire, Sintra, Maecht, Vicovaro, and also there are all-stage troops like the Ardfen, the Impera, which is pretty similar to Praetorians. The Impera are Praetorians.
Yes.
Then you have other things like Darlan, Vryhet, Nausicaa, and all that stuff, Deitwen.
Mm-hmm.
So those are recruited differently. If you would be interested in how the recruitment in Nilfgaard and the creating of their units really works, leave us a comment and we will make more detailed video about this. Now just maybe mention the symbols of the legions and Nilfgaardian brigades.
Yes, absolutely. Every legion has its name and its symbol, the imperial eagle, which was a highly possessed thing. It was an honor to bear the eagle, and it was a huge problem in case the eagle got lost. we have a very nice historical similarity in the Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD, where the three legions of Quincilius Varus lost those three eagles, and afterwards the commander Germanicus retrieved those eagles. It's forever written in history as a huge morale boost when they return those eagles.
Definitely.
And we have the Great Sun.
Yeah, the Great Sun for Nilfgaard is the same as a golden eagle for a Rome legion. There is a huge similarity, so the symbol of the empire.
Exactly, and in the legion there were special positions for those who were bearing the standard or bearing the eagle.
Definitely. And also there are symbols on like lower level for specific legion, and for Nilfgaard it will be for specific brigade. So we had the Rome legions there carried numbers.
Yes, exactly. Name and the numbers, because the names were also a sort of honor, we can say, and also on the eagle or on the standard they had medals, which were as a reward for exceptional service. And not only you could get a medal as a regular serviceman, but also the legion itself could get a medal. And also in the game we can see the servicemen when they have their armor and small shields with their mark or emblem of the brigade.
Yeah, for the Nazari, of course, the blue rose, you know that. For Nausicaa, it's a white skull. For Artfane, it's a silver sun. For Impera, it's salamander in the sun, and so on and so on. The Datevan, it's white flame, which means literally white flame in Nilfgaardian. So obviously, on their badges they have the white flame. So there is a huge of similarity. The Sintra brigade would probably have the lion head in a golden sun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this the same reason why the rose of Nazaire it's inside the sun, because the Nazaire as a province it's subordinate to the Nilfgaardian Empire. So there is also some heraldical logic behind the banners and behind the emblems. So we can say again pretty similar also by the medals. We already working on them for a Nazaire brigade, so someday we will see some medals on our banners. We also have medals for personally for the soldiers. So another nice addition to the complex of the project. That was about the soldiers and about the large units itself. We can talk more about the details and inner organization, but I think that's theme for another time.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to hear more, definitely leave us a comment.
But at least we should mention the organization of the military camp, because again, there are some really nice analogies.
Yeah, absolutely. The Roman camp was very clear. It was made because when you transferred a Roman legionnaire from one unit to another, he knew exactly where to find his commander, where to find, for example, kitchen or infirmary or sort of infirmary.
Yeah.
And the Roman fortresses had the same plan, and it didn't matter if it was in Britain or if it was in Egypt, for example. And we have a very nice analogy here, because in Witcher 3, the game, we can see in Wellen there is the Nilfgaardian military camp there.
Yeah, it's an army of the center. I'm not sure if they are mentioning who commands them, but
I think they don't.
They don't. But there is the quartermaster.
Yes, absolutely, quartermaster. And also what I especially liked about this camp was that on the map you can see that there are clear lines of tent, and also in front of the camp there was all the sellers, merchants, families even. They were outside of the camp but also very close to the camp. So
in the second Witcher game we could have a look on a Kedveni military camp. Yeah, of course it was a military camp, so it has to be organized at least on some level, but you could see there some differences. Like in the Kedveni camp it was really obvious that there is the tent of the king and there are the sorcerers and commanders, and they are the noblemen, and here in the mud they are the common soldiers.
Yeah, exactly.
And also it wasn't that perfectly organized. It was a really nice camp, but you can see there is something different. In a Nilfgaardian camp, you can see those straight lines because every soldier is worth the same as a fighting force. Of course, the commanders, they need to have some maybe place to have some discussion and planning.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can see that the regular ground would have its own sleeping space, a space for his sphinx, and we can imagine the commander would have a little more of those things like war maps, etc. Also, I
depends on the level of the commander, but
exactly.
yeah.
But in the Roman Empire, even the regular centurions and options, they had their own sleeping space. They weren't exactly sleeping with the grunts, let's say.
Yeah, the commander of the tent definitely would sleep with his men.
Of course, yeah.
But the upper commanders, like maybe of the, here we have the groups and the companies or regiments, they would probably have their own sleeping facility. But definitely every soldier would have some personal possession. Maybe for a Nilfgaard some personal chest and other luggage. And you can look forward to it because in future videos we'll definitely talk more about the personal luggage and other stuff which Nilfgaardian soldier supposed to have. But in a total you can definitely see that there are common soldiers which are on their patrolling duty, and the officers are just among them. There is no strict segregation, no like officers table and soldiers other tent or table. They all can be seen together because there's the spirit of Nilfgaardian military. They are doing things together, they are building together, training together, sleeping together, eating together, and then of course fighting, winning or dying together.
Yes, exactly. It's true that there is a hierarchy, some sort of. Definitely. Everybody has its own responsibilities. I can imagine an officer digging latrines, for example.
Probably.
But they each have its own specific position in both the camp and both in the army, in the battle, meaning.
But I can imagine that like digging latrines could be given to the officer as a punishment.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely.
He failed his patrol. Okay, your job now, and your men will watch you. There's a real shame, and I think that officer would never fail his patrol again.
Exactly, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so that's for a military organization and camp, but also in a game we have a nice example of military code. It's in the White Orchard, and there is a Captain Peter Saar, which receives the delivery of grain, and the grain is rotten. In the previous scene, he speaks with the peasant like, okay, how many you can give? Okay, and you will give this, and he recommends the lesser amount. So he's a kind to him. Like, yes. Okay, I know that you also have to eat, but give me this on time.
Exactly, there is a specific reason mentioned because both the captain and the peasant, they are both peasants. Mm-hmm. He even specifically says that I'm from a peasant origin.
That returns us to the career.
Exactly.
Military career, peasant, and now he's a captain of the fortress. So
exactly, we are in a nice circle there. Yes, and he understands the system, how it works. Yeah, exactly, and he can distinguish what is a rotten wheat and what is a normal wheat. So
yeah. So in next scene, when the peasant delivers the wheat and he says, "This is rotten," so by the military code, you will be now punished, and that's it. Because the North, you will never learn.
And also, I believe that the military codes even specify the amount of punishment. That
Definitely.
It's not on the judgment of the captain or of the small officer.
He definitely has some moving space, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But it's not like, okay, the moving space here is like from 5
execution
to 15. Yeah, and it wouldn't be like, okay, execution for a bad grain delivery.
Yeah,
That
no
doesn't
way.
make sense.
No way. You just can't execute peasant for delivery of bad grain, but you can choose how hard you will beat him.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if someone spy against you, then there is a death punishment.
Yeah, of course. There are very clear. I believe there are very clear
Instructions?
Instructions, yeah, and a very clear description of what is considered as a serious crime and what is not.
Exactly. So another example how the Nilfgaardian army is highly organized, and in the Roman army it was pretty similar. Then, of course, the punishments really highly depended on centurion. There are refers that he was many times more feared than the enemy.
That's true.
He had his regulations.
Exactly. It's called fustuarium, which was a punishment, for example, for a bad service, or let's say not exactly diligent service. The soldier could get beaten. And also there are more serious punishments that were more legion based. That's decimation.
That is I think
which
in
was
top.
one of the top punishments in the whole system, which was used only in most dire situations.
Yeah. It's not a pleasant thing.
Well,
but
definitely not.
if you watch the HBO series The Rome, you know that, because especially the first season is brilliant. It's really historically accurate, not only from the clothing and armor and tactics, mentality. Everything just fits together. If you didn't watch this, do. We often criticize here the fantasy or historical movies that they are not portraying history well, that in fact they are pretty bad.
Yeah.
But this is a quite opposite example. HBO series The Rome. Watch it.
Yeah, absolutely do.
So, of course, thanks to the really advanced military and other technologies, because it's not only the military power in the front line, but it's also the really developed logistics. The logistics system was very important part of Roman military machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's for a Nilfgaard.
Yes, and we can see a nice analogy in the books, where even a specific part of the Witcher books was dedicated to description of how the military worked, and also there was a specific part where it was written that the Nilfgaardian officer was angry at the amount of the civilists who were blocking the roads.
Blocking
exactly,
the roads.
And also
that's pretty common view.
Yeah, but you don't exactly think about it when you see the huge army on the field, and you
need to march on.
Exactly, you want to see how there is the big battle, but you don't necessarily care about, okay, somebody needs to transport those people, somebody needs to feed them, they have horses, those also need to be fed, and also the waste needs to be put somewhere, let's say. So everybody, of course, need to be equipped. Like, it's not like there is some magic that they would have.
No magic, no cars.
Also,
definitely no highways. So
no trains. So
all of the transportation was much more difficult in a real history, and also in this fantasy world setting, because the Witcher world is mostly based on medieval European culture and level of development. So the horse, maybe the wagon, and some country roads may be enforced with gravel, could be.
Sort of, yeah.
In a Nilfgaard, I definitely could imagine the Roman-style roads.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. But that's only in Nilfgaard. When you go north, even through the Amel, I can imagine that Nilfgaard start to build the roads in Sintra, as it's for several years the province of Nilfgaard. But north of the Yaruga, nothing like that. Only in cities, maybe some stone roads, and maybe some really important roads could be.
Yeah, but that would be an exception. You can say that in Nilfgaard, the sort of highways or the stone pavement would be much more common. And also, I would like to extend here the importance of ships.
Yeah.
Ship roads, or if you are a coastal city, or
the ship routes are really important, because it's practically the easiest way of transportation, cheapest, and you can transport a huge amount of material in just one ship, and that's why the Skellige pirates were so
Yeah.
important because, well, the Skellige there are small islands. The Skellige fleet is small. It's tiny compared to Nilfgaardian fleet, but just few capable vessels can give you a pretty huge damage to your trade routes. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we have also a nice historic analogy for that. I heard a saying a long time ago that in Rome it was cheaper to send a ship full of goods from Rome to Egypt than to get the same amount via carts from the next village.
yeah,
And
so think about this example.
yeah,
It's not easy, and also it's not only goods, but also the transportation of people, or you can call it traveling. The
yeah, absolutely.
traveling like for fun or something like that didn't exist. Take some long trip. You won't do that for fun. You would do it just for a business or as a soldier because you have to. But as a civilian, you won't just travel for fun. So it's practically impossible that someone from Northern Temeria would just for fun travel to Vicovaro, even if there wasn't any war. And then it's even harder to imagine that someone from Ophir or Zerikania would travel just for fun in Redania. No. Only some exceptions for business.
Yeah, sort of for business or for diplomatic envoys.
Yeah, of course, diplomacy. But as a civilian, you won't take
No
that
chance.
risk.
Yeah, I would like to return to the
So
Skellige pirates you
Yeah.
said, and for the second historic analogy, we had Rome and we had the Illyrian pirates,
Yes.
were disturbing the trade routes between Rome and the east, and also we have the direct experience of Julius Caesar, who was captured by those Illyrian pirates.
Also, this difficulty with travels and also some problems with pirates, which will happily murder anyone.
Or
That's
could
also
get some ransom money,
maybe, but you have to be important.
Exactly.
And they have to know that. If they don't
Exactly.
know, you are done. That's also the main reason why the cultures in history didn't mix. There wasn't anything like multicultural thing because the cultures stayed pretty separate, and it was not because they didn't like each other as a main point, but it was really difficult to just get in connection. So that's why it was so much separate. Let's now make some resume about comparison of Nilfgaard and Rome. As I already said in my previous videos, with fantasy settings you should always look for some historical analogy, because it will give you good inspiration and you have something to catch on. So for Nilfgaard, the ancient Rome in his empire stage is definitely really good analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. We had many connections there, and also one of the main things, you have the evil empire from the south,
Yeah.
conquering all the free men or all the lands.
Of course, from perspective of Gallia or Germania, the people which were so-called barbarians, the Rome was the invaders, so they viewed them as a negative thing. But from historic perspective, the Rome is often viewed more positively because they really brought kind of civilization and development, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Technical development, stone cities, the culture development also, like amphitheaters.
Definitely there was also the religion conflict, because many of the gods of the so-called barbarians, they were connected with nature.
Yeah, absolutely. But there is actually one positive in that, because the Roman pantheon and Roman religion was opened. They could actually take the few gods of the barbarians and transform it into their gods. And that happened, and very often.
Yeah.
Because if you have a god who was taking care of the crops, and they have the same god but with different name, you could actually connect those together.
Yeah, but of course, if someone just comes in and cut down your secret forest, you would look at him pleasantly. So I think it's similar with The Witcher, because most of the things are told from the viewpoint of the north. Many main characters are from northern realms, so the Nilfgaard is invader and the aggressor. And of course, he is an invader, but he brings the civilization in its own way. As we told, technology, new look on a society, and all that stuff. So if you look on a Nilfgaardian Empire in a more complex view, from a distance, you probably can see it in a more great sunlight. This was a discussion video about comparison of Empire of Rome and Nilfgaard. Thank you to my guest Frolda.
Thank you for the invitation.
If you want to see more about analogy videos about other Witcher World realms and their comparison to real historical kingdoms or other realms, please leave us a comment, give us a like, and next time, Glory Nilfgaard.